Welcome back to another Save It for Parts tech review. Today we're taking a look at the Topdon TS-004 digital thermal scope. Now, I've reviewed some thermal cameras before, including ones from Topdon, but I've not looked at a monocle or scope design like this before. So let's see what's in here. Now, this is a sponsored review because Topdon sent me this unit for free, but as with all my sponsored reviews, I try to give you the positives right along with the negatives, so I will try to be very fair and honest. All right, here is our thermal scope, and it looks pretty nice right out of the box. Seems like decent construction. We have a tripod mount on the bottom here. Lens cap, there's our optic. We have a USB-C interface up on top here. Comes with a carrying case. Got a little lanyard, USB cable, and a manual. Now, this unit is advertised as being IP67 water resistant, but the manual does suggest keeping it away from water to avoid problems. I had to look up IP67 because I'm not familiar with all of those different ratings, and apparently that's supposed to mean it's waterproof up to 1 meter, which is pretty promising. The manual is pretty decent. These little imported products are getting better and better manuals all the time, so very few spelling mistakes that I've noticed so far, and very easy to read. The instructions are pretty simple and straightforward, and the controls seem like they're going to be pretty intuitive. This little knob on the side focuses the rear eyepiece, so you can adjust it for your eyes. Unlike some other thermal cameras I've looked at, this one is designed for long-range detection, so it comes pre-zoomed in. The 1-power digital zoom on here is already zoomed in, so you can't really look at close-by things with it. If I try to look at my hand, I just see an entire finger filling the screen at this distance. It's more designed for seeing animals, people, warm objects at a distance. So the applications for this are more like hunting, bird watching, wildlife viewing, things of that nature. And it comes with some different built-in palettes specifically aimed at those applications. For example, there's a bird palette specifically designed for detecting birds. We have white hot for daytime use, black hot for nighttime use, red hot, which is a pretty standard one, and fusion, which are pretty standard color palettes for most thermal cameras like this. As with other thermal cameras, you can take photos and video with the photo button here. Just hold it down for video. Now, this one has its own internal memory. You don't need to add an SD card to it, and that just helps keep the thing waterproof by cutting down on the number of intrusions into the body of the thing. We do have a couple different zoom levels. As I mentioned, the default zoom is already zoomed in. It's already about a 2-power magnifier, but you can go all the way up to 8 power from that, or I guess approximately 16. It is a digital zoom, so it's just making the pixels a little bit bigger, so not quite the same as an optical zoom, but still pretty good for looking at very distant objects. I took it outside to try it out, and the bird watching mode is actually pretty good for spotting birds. I could see a bunch of little sparrows nesting in this bush, I could spot larger birds flying overhead, and I could easily spot aircraft in the sky. That was pretty cool. I think this would be much more useful at night or in low light conditions, because I can also spot most of these things with my naked eye, but the thermal camera does really bring them out, and especially that bird mode. It really makes relatively small warm objects like birds and aircraft really pop out in a scene. Now, the only complaint I have about this so far is that it takes quite a long time to start recording. So if you see something interesting like a bird or wildlife and you want to record a video of that, it takes about a full 5 seconds to start recording, and you have to hold down the camera button for 5 seconds. If there's a fast-moving animal or bird, it might be gone in 5 seconds. Just clicking the button once does take a picture pretty much instantaneously, so that's nice. Now, we have a couple other power options on this. If we just push the power button once, the system goes into standby mode, so it's still on, it's still ready to go, and it doesn't have as much of a warm-up period if we want to use it, but it is saving some battery power. And it pops up instantaneously when we push that button one more time. Now, if I turn the unit completely off, it has one extra feature of a flashlight. So the mode button here turns on an LED flashlight when the power is off completely. That's kind of a neat little feature. If you're using this in the dark, if you're outside fumbling around, you don't have to juggle both the thermal camera and a flashlight because you have both in the same package. Let's see how simple it is to get the media off this unit. Very straightforward, just like any other digital camera. So one really cool use I can think of for this would be on a boat. I've seen high-end thermal cameras that you mount on the bow of your boat, and then you have a live thermal view inside the boat, and because this is waterproof, can be mounted outside on a tripod mount, you can't really use it inside the boat with the windows shut because, as with any thermal camera, it doesn't actually see through glass. It just sees glass as a reflection of infrared energy. So you would want to have it mounted outside the vehicle. And then this actually does have a Wi-Fi streaming mode, so you can watch it on a phone or a tablet or something else inside the wheelhouse of your boat, inside a vehicle, while having this outside. That sounds really cool, especially for search and rescue applications. With the tripod mount here, you could mount it on a remote pan tilt mount and have it search around, look for wreck victims, look for obstacles at night. I think there's some really interesting marine applications for this. So let's try that remote Wi-Fi feature. There's a QR code in here for the app, and this app works with various Topdon products. I've tried one of these before. And there we go, that popped up right away. That was really easy to set up. So for remote use, we could stick the thermal camera onto something like this old Sony pan tilt mount. So this thing would work pretty well on a boat, and it'd be a great way to spot people in the water in a rescue situation. So I'm actually thinking of keeping this on my boat and using it when I'm out boating around on the Mississippi River, or even if I do a bigger boat trip like somewhere up in Alaska. This would be a pretty cool tool to have handy. Now I should note that because the Topdon TS-004 is designed for long distance wildlife type applications, it's not really appropriate for use in your home or necessarily around your home. It's not really a home inspection type camera. It's more of a hunting camera, more of a wildlife spotting, bird watching camera, and that's really where it excels. It can see out to 450 meters. It can identify stuff at 100 meters. Heck, I was identifying aircraft and birds at bigger distances than that. So I would say this is a pretty decent long-range thermal camera for outdoor field use. So to wrap things up, what do I think of the Topdon TS-004? The only real problem I had with it was that massive lag when recording. I actually scared a rabbit at one point when I was out in the yard with this thing, and I wanted to film the rabbit because that would have been a great video, but it took 5 seconds to start recording and the rabbit was long gone by then, so all I got was ground and some bushes. That's really the only major flaw with this camera, is that the recording takes so long to kick in. The thing about not using it for home use, well, there are other cameras for that, and they don't do the things this will do. They will not give you a nice zoomed in view of distant wildlife. So there are trade-offs when picking this camera versus something else like one of Topdon's other cameras. On the plus side, this thing is fantastic for wildlife. That bird mode especially is great. I have not seen that mode with any other camera, and it really does make spotting birds very easy. That's kind of a unique feature that I really like on this one. The whole camera was extremely easy to use. It is easy to understand the controls. You don't really need to get through detailed menus. You don't really need to go through the manual much to understand how to use it. It's all point and click. The long-range feature is great. In addition to spotting wildlife, this would be great for search and rescue. This would be great for use on a boat or another vehicle. I didn't really test out the IP67 waterproofing, but I do like the build quality on this, and it seems like everything is well manufactured. Everything should hold up to some heavy use. I've tried some other thermal cameras that seemed pretty flimsy and felt like they might break if you handled them too roughly or if you took them outside. Not so with this thermal monocular. This is designed for outdoor use. So overall, I think it's a decent product. I think it's pretty cool as a long-range thermal spotting scope, and I'm definitely going to keep this one around and use it for some other stuff in the future. If you'd like to find the TS-004 or any of Topdon's other products, I will throw links in the description down below. Hopefully this has been a useful review for everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.